Perfect. So I think we can go get started. We're at 33 now. Yeah, I'm gonna just start again by welcoming everyone. Really great to see so many people joining from all over the place, from all across the globe. Welcome to Agile Planning, adapting to last-minute changes. My name is Tim Grohmann, as you can probably see from the screen already. I'm the operations manager for Rentman in North America here in Toronto, Canada. I'm originally from Germany, but I've been here in Canada for quite a while. Yeah, I'll be your host for the next 30 to 45 minutes. Really cool to be here today with, pretty great panel of experts from both Rentman and beyond. And yeah, why we're focusing on agility in planning today? Well, pretty much we all know how agile planning is essential in AV, in event, in media production and film, because I think like we can all agree across those industries that change is pretty much the only constant that we have, and knowing how to adapt to that change is determines like if you make or break a project, right? So we're going to be talking about that. And the reason we're actually focusing on that today are some findings from our industry report that we just released. I think must have been this week, right, Roy? In this industry report, we surveyed quite a few people, and we found out that last-minute changes and adapting to those last-minute changes, being agile, was like a key thing that people still struggled with, or like that they encountered. If you haven't checked out this industry report, I think we're going to be sharing it in the email together with the recording of this webinar in a couple of days, I'm assuming. In this report, I think 96% of the 319 people we interviewed said that they struggled with those last-minute changes. We decided it would be cool to hear from people working in the industry firsthand, how they encountered those challenges, how they deal with them, how they're impacted by them, and also what best practices they have developed from them. I think that's pretty much it. And you can see that our other expert, Eric, has joined. Hey, Eric, good morning. I think to get started, I've done a little intro on myself, but I'm also going to let my other experts introduce themselves. And I think I'm going to get started with Roy. Roy, you want to go ahead?
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, I'm Roy. I'm the CEO founder of Rentman, originally from the Netherlands. I grew up in the Netherlands as well. Had a rental company myself. Was not very happy with the software I was using at the time. And then I started Rentman as a small ERP software for AV companies. And in the 10 years, we grew it out to a very complete operation management platform for both event and media production companies.
Awesome. I'm going to give the mic over to Matt.
Hi, my name's Matt. I am with a company called Enigma 3 here in Utah, the United States. We are a film equipment rental house, and we have a couple of studios as well. We've been running for, Enigma 3 is only about 4 years old, but I've been in this business, in this industry for about 16 years doing film rentals.
Awesome. And then Eric, who are you?
Yeah, sorry everyone. Thank you for being dealing with me while I'm being agile. So I'm Eric. I'm with Reason One Productions. We specialize in primarily high-end corporate event production. So everything from high-end tech companies to global pharma companies and things like that. So and we're based in Los Angeles. So we do a lot.
Got it. All right. Thanks so much, everyone, for introducing themselves. And if you're just joining, let us know where you're tuning in from in the chat. Today we'll, as I said, explore some tools, some strategies, some real-life examples to make your agile planning easier and more efficient. So really what we want to try to give you guys today, for everyone that is joining, some ideas on how you can streamline your planning, how you can reduce those stress points, and really stay agile no matter what's thrown your way, as Eric so vividly showed us this morning. So great to see that we actually have a real life example happening here as well. Again, I said this earlier, Feel free to submit your questions. Use the Q&A function for this, please. Submit those questions. We can maybe get into them while we're talking already. If not, we have a 10-minute part at the end of this where you can just ask any questions. Those questions could be challenges that you're running into, best practices, maybe that you have questions about. So let us know how we can maybe help you out as well, okay? Great. Then I'm going to start off by throwing some questions in here for our experts. And I think what I want to start off with, let's start talking about these challenges. And I'm maybe just going to ask, okay, what are some of the biggest challenges that we're facing across your industries? And I think it's important to point out that we have two industries that we're talking about today. So we have film, equipment rental, media production, and then we have the event production side with Eric. So we're gonna hear probably like a little bit of overlap, but also like some pretty unique challenges that people are running into. And I think I want to start off maybe by asking Matt, when it comes to planning, what are you and your team running into in terms of challenges in general?
Yeah, so I think there's always a lot of challenges that we face day to day. The biggest thing with film is there's a lot of things that are very last minute. I don't know how that works in event space, but with film, very last minute on orders. We'll have orders come in sometimes the same day, or there'll be changes, or we'll have a project that's maybe a long-term project that suddenly needs something, or a piece of equipment goes down. A lot of that kind of stuff is what we face. And then, of course, communication and making sure that we understand what the client needs, that they're communicating with us, we're communicating with them, and everybody's kind of on the same page. So that's kind of some of our biggest things that we're facing in our industry.
Got it. So in the end, like last minute changes, which I think is like, a huge topic of what we're going to talk about today. And then I guess like communication in general, but communication also being impacted as a result of those last minute changes that you're bringing up.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay. Eric, does that, can you relate to that? I saw you nodding. What do you think about what Matt is saying?
Everything is last minute every day, all the time, on our side. And I think the interesting thing with us is that because we're in LA, we may be on the event side, but A, half of our clients are on the film side, and B, half of our engineers and technicians cross over all the time. There's a lot of live TV shows, a lot of award shows and things here. So our engineers, like when film gets busy and when things change last minute there, it affects us as well. So it's kind of interesting to be so adjacent to it and see how it affects us, in addition to all of our clients who are always very last minute. I hope I might say some bad things about my clients. So if any of you are on here, I'm sorry. I love you.
Okay.
Everything's last minute. I'm on site last minute. This event popped up. They added an additional day to our event 9 days ago. So wasn't planning on being on site today, but here I am. So another example of last minute and having to be agile.
And Eric, do you think that changed over time? Because something that we hear from our mostly European customers that changes are more and more last minute, where 10 years ago that wasn't really the case.
Yeah, I think that it definitely has, and I think it's twofold. I think the sort of improvement of technology and everyone being able to get a hold of everyone at any hour, at any time, it sort of enables people to be able to make a change at 10 p.m. and get that information out to everyone, or receive a change, or like, the CEO of a company is speaking and at 10 o'clock they have an idea, 10 p.m. They're like, oh, I have an idea for tomorrow. Can we change everything? That wouldn't have gotten relayed before, and people didn't have the expectation that things could change that quickly. I think the other part of that is the pandemic. I do feel like it is, at least in LA, it created a sort of cycle of events where I think annual events used to be a little bit more spread out. It was January, February, March, April. now they all seem to be in spring and fall. And that seems to be much more since the pandemic, but I'm not, it's just a theory of mine. So yeah, I think
Got
those
it.
are the big changes.
Got it. Got it. Okay, interesting. And can you relate to that, Roy, just based on like your personal experience and like, like you have obviously like you talk to our clients a lot, you were in the industry yourself. Like, what do you think about like this having increased? Because you posed the question in the first place, right? So how do we feel about this?
Yeah, from our side, we really see it in the feature request. So I think like changes and especially last minute changes, it's all about communication. First, you need to know if things are doable, if you have the resources, if you have the equipment, if you have the people to accommodate the change. But then the hardest part is in the communication of the change, make sure that everybody that everybody is again on the same page. That if the times are adjusted, everybody is aware of these times. And we see more and more in our feature request things related to both this communication and being able to be more flexible or even more agile in the planning cycle. So it is something that we hear almost every day, where that wasn't the case like 5 or 10 years ago.
Got it. Interesting. And yeah, I'm just like reading the chat here as well. And I think Sean from Minnesota is saying that he's seeing the same change since the pandemic. So looks like these are not isolated things, like maybe not necessarily region specific things. And I also have a question from someone that I kind of want to pose right away. And Daniel is asking, what's your process for equipment changes in software, in this case, Rentman? Does the project manager handle the change? Does the warehouse handle the change? When do you get your customer to sign off on the changes? Do you use a separate project or for add-ons? So maybe let's start off with like, who's actually responsible for this, signing up changes? Maybe I'm going
Matt,
to
do you
ask
want to go
Matt
ahead?
here. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. That one is one that I think we do struggle with, and we'll see it in kind of all three places. So we'll see, obviously, our rental coordinator is the one dealing with most of the changes. Usually we have phone, we have texting, email, and they'll make the changes there. Last minute changes, sometimes they're showing up and deciding they don't want certain items or they want to add other items, and so then it's the warehouse that's dealing with that. Luckily, our warehouse people basically use the mobile app exclusively, and then we've got a
Got
couple
it.
of us in the office that use the computer almost exclusively. And so luckily the mobile software is able to, if they go and scan something, they want to add in a certain light, it's able to tell them, oh, hey, that's not actually available. But we're always trying to figure out, yeah, what the best ways are to kind of communicate all those things to make sure that we're not sending out gear that we're not allowed to send out. So
Right.
we try and have communication between the warehouse staff and the rental coordinator. We try and keep those lines open. We've started using the tasks more so that we can assign things to each other when there's something going on. If something breaks down or something's needed. We also, of course, use Slack. We try and do almost everything in Rentman. Of course, it doesn't have a chat function, so we use Slack for that.
Yeah.
Um, uh, but yeah, using the warehouse module notes and things that you can put on projects is really useful for communicating all of that. Because if you've got a lot of different people, you don't want to have to say the same thing 4 different times to all these different people. So if we can
Right.
post something that, hey, this is happening, we can post that up on
Yeah.
a message thing on a project, then everyone's able to see that, and that helps to spread that communication out and make
Got
things
it.
simple.
And I guess that also means then like trying to limit the number of tools overall, have some like at least like a limited number of places where you can add that. That could be your the platform that you use to manage your projects, equipment, but then also like communication channels like Slack, but trying to not have too many, trying to have like a few central ones so that the people who are involved can see those changes in real time as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Super
Got it.
important.
Got it. Eric, what are your thoughts on this? Like about the question, like project manager, warehouse staff, customers signing off on changes. How do you feel about this?
Yeah, I think for my company specifically, we've been growing so fast and changing so fast that it's really been evolving, like almost sometimes by the week. It's always our goal to have the project manager decide what goes to each job.
Mm,
But a lot of times it might be me, it might be I might be on site, I might be on site at another thing, I might be in meetings where I'm just literally messaging my team and saying, checking with the warehouse and saying, what do we have available? Is this prepped? Is this ready?
mm,
While, um, talking to our crew coordinator who might be putting in a different part, or it might be we really are all hands on deck, basically, is what I'm saying. And a lot of times it's just
mm.
whoever's the most available to do it. But it's usually we like to have it at least coming from the production manager for each specific project, to at least have that like point of contact that's making sure it is what we actually need and what the client has or what the client needs.
Got it. So trying to centralize it like with the production manager, project manager in that case. But then, so I think
Right.
like centralization, like having a single source of truth, both from a human perspective, but also from a tech perspective, is I guess like what I'm getting from that, right? And I guess that's
Yeah,
what.
and essentially, oh,
Oh,
sorry,
please go
Tim.
ahead.
No,
Yeah, yeah, no, go,
I think
go.
what I was going to say is it's always coming from the production manager, but the ability to have anyone on our team be able to add and adjust the event in real
Mm,
time.
mm,
Because for us, there's, three different departments essentially, where it's labor, warehouse, and then the accounting side. All of that stuff is changing in real time at the same time. So it might be a call from the production manager, but the warehouse manager might put the equipment in, and then our accounting team is getting new invoices, and our crew coordinators working on trucking and getting it there. So
mm.
having all that information in one place is the most important thing for us,
Got it.
because we're all over the place in different locations. So
Got it. Yeah, yeah. So all hands on deck, but I guess like all hands in one tool. Just trying to come up with
yes,
like
exactly.
ways of describing this right now, but I guess this makes sense in somewhere. Roy, thoughts on that? Like relatable, how
Yeah,
do we
yeah.
approach this with Rentman?
Yeah. So I think the power is that you have enough flexibility within certain limits that the people based on the setup of the company in the different departments can make their own changes. But based
Mm.
on what Matthew was saying, I know Matthew that you guys go quite deep on in the Zapier integrations. Are there any integration that you use in conjunction with Slack for the workflow that you just mentioned?
Yeah, we do. And I'm sure there's still some things that we can do, but when the Zapier integration was completed and updated recently, we decided to go in and try and automate some notifications, both internal notifications and notifications to our clients. And so
Mm.
one of the things that we do is in Slack, if there's a an order that comes up that is marked as confirmed, that's within the next 24 hours, it pops up on our Slack message. It says, "Hey, there's this new order. You need to deal with it like ASAP." And so that's really nice. We're looking at doing some additional things within in Slack, but we do also use Zapier for sending emails to our clients and texts to our clients. So we use Zapier in conjunction with Twilio to send texts. So, for instance, when a project gets marked as prepped, when we've pulled everything in the warehouse, marked it as prep, it automatically sends an email and a text to our client that says, "Hey, your order is ready for pickup." We have other ones that say, if an order has not been confirmed and it's within, 24 hours or 2 days before that project is supposed to start, it sends an email to them automatically that says, "Hey, this is a reminder that you have this quote that's outstanding that you haven't signed, you haven't confirmed. Are you still needing that gear?" And then they can actually reply straight to those emails and straight to the texts, and that goes to us. So it's really nice to be able to have that Zapier integration where we can basically do anything we want to like automate all these things. Because before it was always like end of the day, okay, rental coordinator, you're going to go through all of the upcoming orders for the next day, and you're going to send out these reminder emails to let people know, "Hey, your
Mm.
order's, set for pickup tomorrow." Now that's all automated, and the amount of time we've been able to save with our staff, being able to just have everything automated has been super awesome. So yeah, that's great.
Interesting. And I think we're moving a little bit into like practical tips on solving those challenges. And I think Matt, your example that you were giving is really great. Like trying to like integrate the tool that you're using. That could be Rentman, it could be another tool with like other tools as well to automate communication, especially trying to have a more, single source of truth approach, right? That could be Rentman, another tool integrating it. Um, what other like practical tips do you guys maybe like employ in a day to day that could be, let's maybe focus like on a little bit outside the software, to adapt to these challenges? So the challenges that we discussed now being like last minute communication challenges, all these kinds of things. And maybe I'm gonna ask Eric here what else you guys do that you found to be helpful.
Yeah, sometimes it's as simple as just praying. No, I'm just kidding. It's for us, the biggest, most useful tool, or tip that I would have is make sure that your whole team is aware of where each other are, at least in our case, because we are all over the place. Sometimes we're working from home, sometimes we're working from on site, sometimes we're coming from site visits. So I think the communication and planning there to know who's where, who's available when, and who can be available to help you in a last minute emergency situation. I won't say emergency, I'll say almost emergency situation. So that's been a really big thing for us, is getting on the same page there and being ahead of the curve so that we know who we can ask when we need help or when we have to adjust.
Got it. So also like knowing
Simple.
where people are, knowing what's possible, like knowing what you can expect from each person in the end, right? And then obviously like this can only happen if you've communicated that clearly in the first place, expectation setting, communication, etc. Matt, I know you talked about some practical tips already. Anything that you maybe want to add to the things that you have said that made you, successful to the point where you guys are these days in Utah?
Yeah, I mean, this one's the first one that came to mind. It's a super simple one, and I'm sure probably most places do something like this, but we have our company has basically 3 full-time employees that are here all day, every day, and then we have a couple of part-timers that are regular, and then we have a number of different like kind of freelancers. It's our on-call staff that when we get busy, we call up and say, hey, we need some extra work on these days. So what we have is we end up having a pretty transient workforce where there's just people, any day it could be a whole different group of people, or, one person might be here one day and not the next, and then back the next day. And so because of that, it does make communication hard between all of those people. So one of the things that we do, like I said, super simple, but when people are pulling orders, we just have little colored tags that we put on a pile of gear that says, hey, this thing's ready to go, and here's who it's for, or hey, this thing's incomplete, and here's the list of items that it's missing. We know it's on the app and everything, but it's nice to be able to, when someone's walking up to their work and everything, they can look at that card and be like, oh, hey, okay, I know this is missing X, Y, and Z, especially if a client shows up. A lot of times we have our clients showing up early for their pickups. And it's nice to be able to look at that and say, oh, okay, we're actually missing, these stands or this hardware or whatever. And it's really helped us to eliminate issues where we end up missing a piece of gear, which is obviously huge when you send out a rental and they're missing something. That's a big deal.
Right.
So we obviously strive not to do that. And so that's been a simple thing that we've done to help.
Yeah. So I guess like in the end, like having the equivalent of what you can do in the software in real life as well, because not everybody's going to be in their phone the whole time. A lot of people are these days, but like I guess in general, when you're in the shop, have some sort of visual indicator on the actual gear as well, so that people know what needs to happen with it.
Yeah, exactly. And we've got like 6 or 7 different cards in different colors, and they all do say different things. And the app's great, but sometimes it gets rushed, right? You get a lot of things going on, like tons of different people that all come all at the same time, and you're trying to pull stuff up on your phone and check everything, and obviously we do before they walk out the door, and we do a double check on list on the phone. But like we don't do packing slips anymore. We used to. We used to print out, papers and everything. But we've kind of moved all over to doing everything digitally. So we use the digital sign feature in Rentman to have that send packing slips and list there. So yeah, just having that kind of double check is super helpful.
Got it. Got it. Roy, any tips that you can relate to from your past experience in the industry, or anything that you see like we took inspiration from to actually build it into the software?
Yeah, so what we see usually when we compare companies like customers that perform really great and company that are a bit struggling, it is the amount of messiness in the operation. And I think that can be explained that if companies grow, then you start as a single account manager. It's quite clear what everybody's doing, but then you add more additional roles that can be from accounting or dedicated group planners. And then sometimes where it goes wrong is that responsibilities aren't completely spoken out, and that sounds like a very simple thing to do. But sometimes in reality, you see changes coming in, and then everybody need to ask each other, "Hey, did you do already? Oh, no, I thought you were going to do it. Oh, no, I asked somebody else." And I think the companies that we see that have a very efficient operation, that they're always so clear on who picks up every task, and then there's all this back and forth between all the team members that isn't there. And I think on a certain scale, we also see it happening in our company, right? When you grow, you get new roles, and then you need to redefine what was everybody been doing, what the responsibility is, and just taking the time for that and mapping it out, and also actually plan some moments to spend the time on asking each other these kind of questions. Always surprising how many unclarity still is in these apparently simple things. So that's what I see a lot.
Right. And I think in our case, at least, like we do this with like a pretty well-defined meeting structure. Like, just like
Yeah, so
talking about it,
like
right?
when you have a team and everybody, you think it's a good running team, and then you ask, "Hey, what's your responsibility?" And what's your responsibility? Then sometimes they find out that they both feel responsible for the same thing, or that there are topics where nobody feels responsible, right? It's just these kind of simple things. It always surprised me how much you get out of these meetings in our company, but we also see it with our customers. And I really like the efficiently run customers. There is just not this fuss around, but all the communication going back and forth. Hey, did somebody already do it? It is just being picked up because it is clear who's responsible and who is accountable.
Right. And I think this comes back to
Bro.
the whole point of this webinar, right? Sorry, Eric, I'll give you a moment, but like
No,
being
yeah.
prepared means that like having communicated things in the past already properly, so that if a last minute change comes in, it doesn't surprise you. And I think that's what it's all about, like having like clear responsibilities overall. And I'm going to give it to you, Eric. Sorry for interrupting you there.
No, I was just going to say absolutely, Roy. That I think that's been a huge thing for us. I kind of I feel like I missed the mark in what I said. As soon as you said that, I was like, yeah, that's probably been our biggest challenge as we grow. We're a very small team, and we had a production manager leave the company 8 months ago, and when you lose one of eight, it shifts everyone's roles
Exactly.
exponentially, right? It's you're losing 1/8 of your production team. So having to evolve and be very clear on whose responsibilities are whose and who's taking what parts of each thing. I think that's something that for us there might not be there might not be the greatest answer, and it might have to be situationally, but I think that was one of our biggest learnings in that time period of people picking up slack, and then it's really hard to replace leadership. But I had a baby a couple months ago, so I was out, and again, we're short a production manager, and then I'm gone. How do we evolve, and who takes on what responsibilities? And I feel like that's something that we could have done better, and I feel like that affected us more than anything else ever has, not having those clear responsibilities. So yeah, remap, explain, and keep everyone on the same page. That would be my new tip. So thank you, Roy.
Yeah, and we also struggle on a day-to-day basis, and sometimes you shouldn't forget that people come from a different background, right? So what a production company at a certain company does not necessarily have the same task at a different company. So especially when you grow and when you add people, they think what the role is about, but being in the room every so often, and to talk about these responsibilities, who's doing what and why, I think it just saves a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And I think like we also had someone in the chat, David Springer, saying, accountability is essential. And I think that, summarizes it. Communication, create accountability. And then like if these last minute changes happening, I mean, in your case, I think the baby wasn't last minute, but it still creates like you split your responsibility in a smart way and nobody gets surprised by that. And I think like one thing you were saying, Eric, is you could have done this better, like in preparing for like changes to happen. Um, what are some of the things that happened? So what were some of like the things that you saw happening, like the hidden costs kind of like not prepping well in the first place that you would now want to avoid?
Yeah, I think really it was the unclarity and sort of confusion, where things might not happen as efficiently as they could. They're taking longer than they could. So it might be getting back to a client on a quote, where maybe it's a question that I would normally answer, or a quote that I would normally put together.
Mm,
Um, I think the additional time it takes, some clients need an answer now, and if they're not sure you're going to be ready or be able to help them within, you know, half a day, they're gone and they're getting quotes from somewhere else, and so they're signing quotes from someone else.
mm,
So I think it just really affected our efficiency and slowed things down, and we missed opportunities because of it.
yeah, got it. Matt, on your end, missing opportunities because of not being able to to quickly adapt if something changes. Does that sound like, is that relatable to you? Like what made you the company that you are now? What made you want to be agile in the first place?
Well, I guess we came from the industry of really like low budget, small, independent filmmakers that didn't have a ton of money. That's kind of where we started our
Mm,
business from. We wanted to help the little guy, and so starting the company, it was just myself and then me and my wife that ran the company. We ran it out of our garage for 8 years or whatever, and uh, and we just had to be super flexible with our clients and when they needed pickup times and everything else. As we've moved into being in a large warehouse now, we have more staff. We've lost some of that ability to be as flexible. We have more set hours.
mm,
Um, we try and stay within those hours to try and respect everybody's time. If I have to come out to the office in the middle of the night, it's 15 minutes to get out here, 15 minutes back takes from my evening. So, but at the same time, in this industry, in the film industry, sometimes there are things that are last minute, especially when something breaks, and we just have to
mm,
go and deal with that or find someone that can go and take care of that. And that becomes a challenge. I think for the most part, doing the maintenance and making sure that our gear is all up to snuff really helps to make sure that we don't have a lot of issues like that.
mm,
And for when clients have really last minute requests or they need something, outside of our office hours, we just bill people for that time so that that kind of makes up for the inconvenience on our part. But it's definitely is always a challenge to try and, I guess you're trying to balance that work life relationship there.
mm,
Uh, yeah, I think just trying to plan ahead. We have an afternoon meeting at the end of the day where we have all of our full-time staff meet for a few minutes and we just go over like what's going on the next day. We used to do it in the
got it.
morning, but we found in the mornings were our busiest time. We had a lot of pickups and drop-offs and things happening. So now we do it at the end of the day and we say, okay, here's what's going on tomorrow. And sometimes we find things there. We're like, oh, shoot, we're supposed to do this delivery at this time, but we also have this going on.
Mm,
And so then we realize, well, we've got to bring on some more people. And of course, that's a little late to do that, but we're still usually able to find someone else to bring in, or we're able to kind of move
mm,
things
mm,
around. I think planning ahead and making sure that you really understand like what are all the tasks that are going on the next day and what are all the orders that are happening so that you can, plan ahead on those is really
yeah.
important.
Yeah, yeah. So having it all daily at a time that makes the most sense, evaluating. I'm sure for some companies the morning makes more sense, and if you guys figured out that the afternoon is the right time to do it, then um, yeah, reasonable approach here. What I'm seeing here as well, Joseph in the chat is saying, cross-training or redundancy instead of siloed specialization might reduce the team being brittle when one person leaves or is temporarily unavailable. And I think like silos, I think that rings through to Roy and me as well. You know, something that I think like every organization tries to like break down a little bit. And yeah, like I guess like cross-training, redundancy, like Eric, something you guys have tried or is there time for that? Do you want to do it?
Yeah, well, and there's also there's challenges because on our side we do full production, so we might have someone who's really specialized in audio, someone who's really specialized in lighting, someone who's really specialized in video, and so just using those as examples, um, if we have one of each of those, if one of them is out, there's only so much knowledge you can cross-train. Cross-training 20 years of experience is really difficult. But having everyone be well-versed enough to be able to at least uh um you know do the minimum to be able to help out, I think is really important. And for us, the cross-training is really about how we do quotes, how we communicate with our clients, how we make decisions. Like I think that part of the cross training is really, really invaluable. Like it's important for me for everyone to be able to do anything we need in Rentman, to be able to adjust to quote. But within the specific disciplines, that's where I think we struggle with those silos quite a bit.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. So whatever tool you're using, that could be Rentman, that could be another tool, whatever tool it is integrated with, trying to make sure that there is some redundancy in terms of like the important things. And as you said, like if there's no redundancy on this end, you don't send the quote, you potentially lose the client because somebody else was faster.
Yeah, exactly. So even our accounting team can somewhat help build a quote if need be, or
Okay.
adjust an item, or I think that's where that cross training is really, really valuable for us, is those internal systems, to be able to at least cover that part of it. Because we can always bring in experts on the field, like from a freelance capacity. We can bring in a lighting designer or a lighting programmer that's really good that can help us with the technical side. But those internal processes, if we're not cross-trained, you can't bring someone in to step into that immediately.
No. Roy, you're smiling and nodding. What does that mean? Relatable?
No, yeah, so 100% agree, and I think like you can hire a lot of specialists, but the DNA of the company, that's not something you can replace, right? So spending some time on how we can communicate, what's our tone, what do we do it for, what kind of company we are, right? That's so important. So relatable from my time in the industry.
Got it. Okay. Perfect. I think we've gotten some really good insights, and I think we're approaching like 40 minutes here as well. I think I'm just going to open up the floor now, unless you guys want to add anything else to what was just said, Matt or Eric, and maybe just like encourage everyone to use the Q&A and ask some questions. What are you guys struggling with, when it comes to like being agile to last minute changes? What are you guys maybe interested in, and then what Matt and Eric are doing? Obviously, both of them are Rentman users, so this can be slightly Rentman specific. Don't ask them too many technical questions. But yeah, let us know, like, what are you guys struggling with? Let's start with that, and then maybe like the people on the call here can help you guys out a little bit. This is your chance.
I like to consider myself a Rentman power user, so
yeah, I would say so. Okay.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, while people are asking, Tim introduced me to Matt at a trade show a while back, and I have so much to learn from Matt on the ins and outs and the technical programming and things like that. And there's so much that we can learn from there. So I'm looking forward to doing that as well.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, let me see. What are people saying? I guess I'm going to ask a question which is a little bit more Rentman specific. So for the people that are not using Rentman right now, please forgive me. So anonymous attendee is asking, when having too many projects and a crew member has a problem and can't come to work, what's the fastest way to find what changes you're able to do between all projects? Right, so I guess like shifting resources around. In the attendee's opinion, the calendar is not clear enough to have an overall view to what's happening and see a solution. Any suggestions?
Do you want me to jump into that? Yeah, so for us, I think, the word meetings was mentioned several times, where I think, even if we have 10, 15, 20 jobs, whatever, in a week or on a day, talking through those potential scenarios, when we have a Monday meeting, talking through those potential scenarios ahead of time, knowing what is on each job. So it's a lot of times, in addition to it being in the software, it's the whole team having an understanding of what's going where and what's needed for each job. It just, even if it's like a back mental note. So you have those tools, you have the communication tools like we talked about, and then you have the resources where you can actually go into projects. You can look at what equipment's available. For us, using the crew planner is huge. Usually our problems end up being more challenging on the crew side because we are so selective and we have so many different specialties. We struggle on the crew side a lot more than the equipment side. We have great partners like Enigma 3 and some other rental houses where we can get gear and utilize different partners to be able to support us on the gear side. But the people side is really challenging. So using the crew planner, and using tags in Rentman, I think is really, really helpful for us to be able to find, it might be like an op for a specific type of console, or someone who knows QLab, or someone, and we can then see our list of who's available, that has those skill sets, and potentially pull from another job and rotate, because there are a lot of people that can use four different types of console, and so a lot of times it's just mixing and matching. But using the tags has been really helpful for us in that regard. So you can tag specific skill sets.
Got it. So skill sets, and then I guess like combining that with the timeline. Matt, on your end, like you guys schedule crew, remind me.
So yeah, we don't do a whole lot of crew scheduling. Most of our stuff is happening within our warehouse. We don't send a lot of people out to like set up events or anything like that. And so for us, when we have somebody who calls out sick or something like that, for us it's just okay, if someone was going to work on something specific that day, it's no, we're going to pull you over and you're just going to work on pulling orders and returning orders. So, sometimes it means we have to push some other things that aside so that we can run the day-to-day stuff, and maybe if some repairs get pushed off, but that's the hard situation.
Got it. Okay.
And I think the visual crew planner is really the place what we have designed to make. You can filter it on the day or the next 2 days, and it shows you all the project and all the tasks, all the shifts you have in hand. That's really designed to quickly shift some things around, or highlight in the bottom part just the supposed planning of the employee that couldn't come to work. You can easily fill those functions with different people. So a lot of people are using our planning crew from the context of a project, but especially when it comes to last minute changes, or change need to happen on the same day, I can highly recommend the visual crew planner. I think that's really built for this task.
No, interesting. And I think we're becoming pretty tool specific now on Rentman. And I think what I'm interested in, and like what somebody asked in the Q&A as well, is how can smaller companies with limited resources become more agile in their planning? Do you guys recommend any specific tools or processes? So we talked about meetings, we talked about just integrating, we talked about communication. Matt, anything else that you can share with us that is maybe not your deepest planning secrets? Things that you can share with us on like what else you guys do that has really helped?
Just with regards to just planning all the different things going on, or
tools, whatever else you guys have. I think you mentioned Slack, Twilio.
Yeah, I mean we're mostly in Rentman almost
Okay.
you know, almost exclusively, because we found we can do everything from, keeping our time cards to it integrates with our website. We use the API to
Right.
build the website. So our website allows people to go in and build their order of all their stuff. Because for most part, unlike probably what Eric does, where somebody's coming and saying, hey, we want to throw this event and we want to have, a stage and all this kind of stuff. And then they kind of figure out what they need. For us, we're mostly renting to filmmakers that and gaffers and grips and things that already know, and camera people that already know what they want. So they come in and they say, I want this camera, I want this set of lenses, I want these accessories. And so we use the API to build a website that they can then add all that stuff in, and then they submit it. And that actually saves a huge amount of time, a huge amount of time for our staff because they uh, they build the order themselves. So they're spending the
Mm.
time adding all that stuff in. They submit it. It comes in as a rental request, as a project request in Rentman, and then we just process it. And so that's a big time saver for
Cool.
us.
Yeah.
And then additionally, I think all the sub projects being able to build, when you've got an order that's a week or 2 or 3 long, and then they want to make changes to that order in the
Mm.
middle of it. We can create all those different sub projects, and sometimes we'll have a project that'll have 15 sub project inside, and that allows us
Yeah.
to keep everything nice and organized. And that really helps to make things so they're not confusing. We know where all of the gear is at any given time.
Mm.
We're able to track that well, and so that helps make sure that we're not getting, hit with our pants down and having someone trying to rent something. And we're like, oh shoot, we actually sent it out to somebody else.
Yeah.
So that equipment tracking is huge, and making sure that all of your dates and times are correct, and that you're using the warehouse module to send the gear out, and you know check it out, check it back in properly has been really key to making sure that we don't run into those issues.
So basically, you're saying discipline is here the key, right? Make sure you follow the procedures.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is big, and we do have to, do some retrain sometimes, and retrain our staff like, hey, the such and such is not happening, our projects are not getting marked as on location, whatever, and then we just make sure that those things happen. And yeah, definitely does take discipline to make sure those things happen. But when it does happen, it streamlines things really, really well to make sure that they all happen correctly and in a timely manner.
Cool.
Got it. Okay. Um, Perfect. I'm just checking if we have any other questions that came in. Sorry, guys, give me one moment here. Let's see.
Hey, Tim, do you want me to add to what
Yeah,
Matthew was saying
please
while you're working
go
on that?
go for it. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think the tools. I think one thing that was a really big thing for us with Rentman is being able to use the schedule in different modules and be able to transfer things from sub projects and things like that. Um, I think in the past, if one thing changed, it we didn't have the ability with our former software to change one thing and have it change across the entire platform. For example, um, if we if a call time changes or a breakout room changes, we can change the
Mm.
times in that function, I should say. Um, and it changes everywhere. It adjusts the call sheet, adjusts everything, as opposed to before, it seemed like we would have to change any change would have to happen in 5 or 6 different places. I think the ability to use the same bits of data or same times or same schedules in multiple places has been really, really valuable.
Mm.
And that has really allowed us to be um, not only more agile, but be more agile more quickly, I guess, if I could try and put that into words.
Got it. More agile, more quickly.
Mhm.
Makes sense. Okay, got it.
And more accurately, I guess, as well. Sorry.
Got it. Okay, interesting. Yeah, just like having everything interconnected, right? Like, so you don't have to make a change here, here, and here. Like, make one change, update it across the board, send updates if you have to the people that are involved in this case, because we're talking about the crew planner.
Hmm.
And again, making sure that everybody knows what has changed and what's happening when, right? So yeah. Um, okay. One thing that did come in here is when we're planning equipment, how do we make sure that we have all the accessories you needed? I often forget small items, and those tend to delay the job. So we're talking about accessories here. I guess like we can maybe go and like how do you guys handle this kind of stuff? Matt, maybe I'm going to start with you. I think very gear heavy.
I don't know if they're specifically talking about accessories or if they're talking about items within like a case or a combination.
Mm,
Kind of two different things. I mean, accessory would be, right, I add a piece of gear that needs some other stuff. And so then there's accessories, and the Rentman has that ability to say, give you a list like, hey, here's all the
mm,
accessories that you might want to add with that mixer console or whatever, or that light. Or if you're talking about combinations where it's, hey, this light should be coming with this power cord and this head feeder and this ballast and all this kind of stuff. Um,
mm.
I'm not sure which one they're
Yeah, I
referring
think
to.
it's like a combination of like accessories and like packaging. So I think like setting up kits, or like not kits anymore, sorry, virtual combination, physical combinations, and all that.
So with the combinations, we've been moving over. I think there was more of a challenge previously, and of course we're still trying to move over to the new system. But prior to the change to make combinations the way they are, being able to track individual items inside of a combination, serialize everything, um, we kind of relied on the staff and their self-discipline to like go through and check a packing slip and make sure that all those little pieces that were supposed to be inside of that light kit were actually inside of there when it came back so that
Mm,
it's ready to go out the next time. We always make sure that whatever's on the shelf is like always ready to go. So that means our check-in process has to be very um, thorough. But
yeah.
with the new system, especially in our camera departments, what we're moving to first, we've gone through and we've serialized all of our different cases, and we're using the physical combinations to then QR code every single little cable and every little piece, especially in our camera department. A camera might have, a couple dozen different components that are required to use that camera. And one missing cable can be, a big deal and make it so that, the whole production stops. And
Mm,
so we started using the physical combinations, and we've serialized everything and we've QR coded everything. And so now the staff know that when the item comes back, they empty all those combinations in the warehouse module on their mobile app, and they use our little zebra scanners, and they just go through and they scan everything in. And that way we ensure that inventory is all accurate before everything gets put away. Um, but there is definitely an amount of time that it takes to set that up so that because like for
mm,
us, we didn't have every little
Yeah.
piece wasn't QR coded previously because we couldn't track things individually. So there is definitely a setup time to get that going, and
yeah.
we've only done maybe 10% of our inventory move to that new system.
Okay. Okay. So taking the time in the end to, I mean, like with QR codes, you were set up to a certain extent, but now spending the time or like investing the time really to QR code everything or like serialize everything in more detail and then like reaping the benefits of that down the road once that is all done.
Exactly, yeah. And obviously that's an ideal situation because you can scan everything. Um, but the other change that happened with the new combinations is all that stuff, whether you serialize everything and allow you to dump those combinations out into the warehouse or not, you can see that all in the warehouse module. So you can
Mm,
see all those individual components, whereas you used to not be able to do that. So,
got it.
maybe if you don't switch over to that system, at least if you I guess it's really about having your database in Rentman accurate and complete, right?
Mm,
So you're going in and creating an inventory item, a piece of equipment for your cables, and maybe it's bulk, power cords are just bulk, that's fine. But having each of those different components in your inventory and then adding those all to your combinations so that you aren't missing those. If your inventory is not and your equipment database is not accurate, you're going to miss stuff. It's just going to happen. There's just no way to, when you've got thousands of different pieces of equipment, trying to cross-train everybody on what everything needs is really hard. Dummy proof it by making it accurate and giving that list, that packing slip to somebody so they can go through and figure everything out and put pictures in there too. We have pictures of everything. So if someone doesn't know what it is, they pull it up on their phone, they can click on that and be like, oh, okay, I know what that is. It's this little metal piece. So having that accurate, key.
Got it. Okay. Anything you guys want to add to that, Eric, Roy?
I mean, yeah, Matt, you hit the nail on the head. And again, I think this answer ties a lot of the questions that we just had together, in regards to um, being a small company. How do you evolve and adapt and make sure that there's not gaps? And it all ties into pre-production. So pre-production can be like Matt was talking about, building out Rentman. I think it's like having our audio team build out our audio accessories, like Rentman's, especially with the new rollout. You can make it prompt you anything. So if you have a speaker, an option might be, we have three different types of speaker stands. You can select each of those. So there's software pre-production, there's physical pre-production, which is for us, a lot of times we do a lot with building custom cases to make sure that all of the accessories have to go with the physical equipment. Um, and building out those sort of things. And then even just the warehouse layout, I think, is really important. Knowing that if you have speakers in the back right corner of the warehouse and your speaker stands are in the front left corner of the warehouse, you're not going to see them together. And like, it's just a simple thing. You have to pre-produce all of that stuff. You have to think through all of those scenarios. And you have to put in the time. There's no replacement for that. But I think the bigger thing is really utilizing your experts to build out those options and those accessories. So that if our audio lead is the only person in the warehouse, they can pull lighting fairly confidently and know that they have all of those accessories. Because we don't have 10 of each in the warehouse where they can check and double check and triple check. We have to be able to rely on our experts, and they have to be able to do the pre-production, and spend that time prepping that and putting that information in there and designing the cases and doing all of that.
Got it. Okay. Roy, I think we're coming to a close here. Anything you wanna add
No,
to what was just said?
I think both answers are quite accurate and elaborate, so nothing to add.
Got it. Okay. Then been here for an hour, a little bit longer than we anticipated. So thanks so much for the people that stuck around. The recording of this will be shared with you in the coming days. We'll also send the industry report that I mentioned earlier. And then one last thing that I want to do, Matt, Eric, where can people find out more about you if they're interested in talking or collaborating in the future?
You're welcome to reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to anybody. Our website is enigma3.com. I'll put it in the chat. I'll also put my email in there if anyone's interested in that. Happy to talk through things. And whether it's Zapier stuff or, API things, how we deal with consignment, something we didn't talk about, but a lot of consignment gear and how we track who gets paid what.
Got it. Okay. Eric, socials, where do people best find you guys? Website?
Yeah, we are the exact opposite of Matt, where our website is out of date and not very helpful. And Matt's is like literally the exact opposite, where you can do everything from. It's so amazing. So I would say our best is probably just kind of seeing what we do is probably Instagram. it is at Reason1, spelled out. So REASONONE. That's probably the best way to kind of see what we do, and feel free to message us there. I think that'll be the quickest and easiest for everyone. If not, my email, I can try to put that in the chat, but as you can all see, I have a very agile setup here where I had to literally set my phone on my laptop because I was walking into a room as we started. So I can't necessarily type it right now. But if you go onto our Instagram, you'll be able to email us and DM us, and we'd love to chat with all of you. I'd love to learn from all of you as well. I think this industry is very small, and very tight, and we can all learn from each other. So happy to get tips from other people as well if you want to send us anything, and we're happy to help anyone as well. I know Matt and I spent some time talking at that trade show and learning from each other. So let's keep it going, and let's all share with each other.
Sounds good. Thanks for all the information here, guys. And yeah, if you want to learn more about Rentman, if you're not using the software yet, just head over to rentman.io. Feel free to create a free trial, 30 days, play around with it. If you have questions, reach out to us. And yeah, follow us on our socials. It's at Rentman Software on Instagram, Rentman Software on Facebook. I think you can also find us on LinkedIn if you're a LinkedIn person. So yeah, and yeah, follow us, stay up to date. We have some more cool webinars coming up in the coming months. Always some interesting people joining us. And yeah, thanks so much for joining today. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Tim.